Namaste and a very good morning to all of you. My name is Mithun, and in today's video, I'll be talking about what exactly is an instance, and we'll also be exploring the different instance types. This is very important, especially if you're a beginner in Amazon SageMaker. So let's begin by asking a simple question as to what is an instance. If you go by a textbook definition, an instance is a virtual server for running applications on Amazon's EC2. It can be understood like a tiny part of a large computer. I repeat, it can be understood like a tiny part of a large computer. This tiny part has its own hard drive, network connection, OS, etc., but it is actually virtual. I know that there are a lot of ideas which are intertwined in this particular definition. So let me just break this down. When we say a virtual server that hosts your application, what do we mean by this? What exactly do we mean by a virtual instance? What do we mean by a virtual presence of a device? When we talk about software development or application development, what we do is we are expected to build an application and run those on servers. But at times, there are a lot of constraints like space constraint. Also, we may have resource constraint. Say, for example, certain applications run on Windows, certain run on Mac, and certain others may run on Ubuntu. In that case, I cannot always go ahead and have different systems run different operating systems on them and then run my applications on top of them because it is time consuming, exhaustive, and cost intensive. So what is the solution? What is the alternative for this problem? What if I could have a single device? I repeat, what if I could have a single device and on top of which I can create virtual compartments in which I could store my data differently. I could store my applications differently. Wouldn't that be amazing? Well, when we talk about an instance, friends, when we talk about an instance, that is what it exactly does. You can think of it as a tiny part of a computer. That is what it is trying to symbolize. That is, we have a system on top of which you can run different applications. How it works is, if we are running an application A in part 1, and we are running an application B in part B of the server, then these applications have a feeling that they are running individually on that system, and there is no other system running on top of it. So this is what virtualization is. It creates a virtual environment for our application to run, and one such instance of this virtual environment is called an instance. So with this understanding of instance, let us now move to instance type. There are many instance types. In fact, there are 300 plus EC2 instance types spanning 70 availability zones in 22 regions. This gives the user endless combinations to choose from. It is practically not possible for me to explain each of these 300 different EC2 instance types. What I'll do is I'll just give you a high-level perspective about some of the most popular instance types. As you can see here in this table, I have listed some of the instance types. Like we have ml.t2.medium. This is a notebook type. And when we activate this, it operates on 2 CPUs and it has a 4 GB RAM. The cost per month that you incur is $32.9. You have another notebook type, which is called as ml.t2.large. It comes with 2 CPUs and 8 GB RAM. The cost is obviously higher. It is $94.8. Like this, you have different instance types like ml.t2.xlarge, ml.t3.medium, ml.t3.large, so on and so forth. The number of CPUs and the RAM would vary depending upon which notebook type you have selected. I've also listed the cost per month that you would incur when you choose any of these notebook types. Where exactly do I use these instance types? If you want to understand this in greater detail, let me make a move on to the next slide. I know that this looks very, very busy. This slide looks very, very busy, but let me just explain this. If we want to understand the instance families, there are 4 major instance families. First one is what is called as general purpose instance family. Second is what is called as AWS Compute Optimized Instance family. Third, we have AWS Memory Optimized Instance family. And the fourth one is AWS Accelerated Computing Instance family. Now, I've listed some of the major instance type under each of these families. Now, when we are talking about general purpose instance family, one of the popular instance type is what is called as a T2 instance type. Now, T2 is optimized for websites and web applications. You can build servers, code repositories, testing, and staging. If you're doing any of these things, you might want to activate the T2 instance. Moving on, let's look at AWS Compute Optimized Instance family. One of the popular instance type here is C5. It is mainly optimized for scientific modeling, video encoding, and distributed analytics. Now, the third instance family here is what is known as AWS Memory Optimized Instance type. This is most useful if you are working on tasks which are memory hungry. One of the typical examples of this particular instance family is what is called as the H1 instance type. This is mainly used for MAPRFS based workloads, distributed file system like HDFS or MAPRFS. You can also use this to process log data or other data processing apps such as Apache Kafka, big data, workload clusters. Now, the fourth type is very, very interesting. And if you're a machine learning exponent, you would definitely be interested in the fourth type, which is called as the AWS Accelerated Computing Instance. Here, when we look at the different instance type, we have what is called as the P2, P3 instance type. These are 2 different instance types. This is mainly used if you're working on, let's say, image processing, video processing, and such things. When you are working on image processing, you can't rely on just a CPU. You would need a GPU, which is graphics process unit for ML and DL activities. For speech recognition, autonomous vehicles, drug discovery, and molecular modeling, genomics. So for any of these applications, you can go with P2 or P3. What about Inf1? Inf1 is very, very interesting. It is mainly used if your task involves recommendation engine. Many times when you are working on an e-commerce website, you might want to recommend what is the next best buy to the customer. A person who has bought 4 books, which are murder mystery books, what is the next book that he's likely to buy? So you can recommend that using recommendation engine. So if recommendation engine is your cup of tea, you might want to use Inf1. Similarly, for forecasting, image and video analysis, advanced text analysis, voice, conversational agents, translation, transcription, and fraud detection, for any of these problems, please use Inf1. Moving on, G4 instance type is optimized for object detection, recommender systems, automated speech recognition, language translation, game streaming in the cloud. What about G3? When do we use the G3 instance type? G3 instance type is mainly used for application streaming and video encoding. Finally, what we have is F1, one of the instance types, which is widely used. It is mainly used for genomic research, used for financial analytics, real-time video processing, big data search and analysis. So AWS accelerated computing instances are most useful if you're doing deep learning and machine learning. So for deep learning, image processing and such things, you might want to use P2, P3. If you are working on recommendation engine, please use Inf1. And for object detection, recommendation systems again, or automated speech recognition, you can use G4. For video encoding, please use G3. And for genomic research, financial analytics, credit risk analysis, fraud detection and such things, you can use F1. So with this, I have come to the end of today's class. I request you to subscribe to my channel and hit the like button. I also wish to thank you for watching this particular video. Thank you very much and have a great day.